It's the first week of September 2025. I'm Dave. I'm here with Andrew, and you're listening to BV Weekly. This week, we'll be recapping the big New York City area shows that System of a Down, Oasis, and Nine Inch Nails played in the past week, taking a look at some of our most anticipated albums for this fall, and more. So, I'm back, and I listened to you and Bill's episode last week.
Yeah, welcome back.
By the way, that Erykah Badu album did not come out.
Bill was right.
So that's the release date on that is now TBD still a week later.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it does come out this year because,
Wow. I mean, I was thinking I'm really hoping it comes out by the time people hear this podcast, but this year that works.
Yeah, you're definitely you're a little more optimistic than me.
Yeah.
I'm more like, because we're going to talk about anticipated albums of the fall, and I'm like, I hope it's this fall.
Yeah, fall.
I mean,
That's a nice
for all we know,
ground.
she could look at Lana Del Rey. Her album is now coming out in January, allegedly.
Right. There's another one that keeps delaying it. I don't know if there was a joke. What she was blaming The Alchemist. Was that like?
Yeah, I think she was like poking fun at him.
Right. Right.
I don't know that we know any more than that, but she did blame it on him in the caption with like a laughing emoji. So.
Right. Yeah. It seemed lighthearted for sure.
Yes. Regardless, I remain excited for it. I mean, how many times am I going to say this? But I still think the concept of an entire Alchemist produced Erykah Badu album is like, whoa.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. Yeah. Definitely excited for it as well.
I'm still waiting for that Alchemist Doja Cat album because he like tweeted this one thing that was like Doja Cat's a sick rapper, and everybody was like, "Wait, are you in the studio with Doja Cat?" And I just feel like if Doja Cat did like a straight up like Alchemist style rap album, that'd be really something.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
So it's been a busy week of shows for everybody.
Yeah,
and
some of the biggest bands in the world all decided to come to where we live at the same week.
Yeah, and I was like out of town for 10 days straight, which is why I wasn't here last week. And on my first day back, I was in a stadium an arena. Sorry, get those confused. In an arena seeing a show. We'll get to that one in a minute. But meanwhile, before that one I couldn't go to because I was away was the big System of a Down and Korn show at MetLife Stadium that you were at.
Yeah, I went night 2, and it was, funnily enough, I realized as I was like, kind of doing some fact checking on like when they last played what, the last time I saw them was exactly 10 years ago to the day.
Oh, wow.
I saw them at Riot Fest Denver in 2015. And that was exactly 10 years ago, but they hadn't played the New York area since 13 years ago. And it's like, I just was thinking about this, like, it's not, it doesn't feel surprising at all that they sold out 2 nights at MetLife. But like the last time they were here, they played like PNC Bank Arts Center, like Jones Beach. Like that's a huge upgrade, like it doesn't, I mean, maybe it's just because it has been so long that it just feels normal, but it's like, that's one of the biggest jumps for like just the last time they decided to play here, they were doing amphitheaters, and now 2 sold out nights at a football stadium.
I get that. It's still a crazy conversation because it's hard to grapple with the idea that you can get bigger than Jones Beach and call it a jump. But yeah, that's MetLife is so freaking big that
right. It's way bigger than Jones Beach.
Yeah, that's just even crazy because in my head, Jones Beach is so big.
I mean, Jones Beach is smaller than the Garden, I believe. Like,
okay.
So they skipped like arenas and they were just like 2 nights at a stadium, both sold out in advance. But anyway, the show is amazing. I mean, System of a Down is one of the best live bands that exist, I think. And that's probably not the first time I'll say that superlative today.
I'm so sad to miss it.
Yeah. I mean, they blew me away at Riot Fest, which was my first time seeing them 10 years ago. And so this time I knew what to expect. Whereas last time I was just kind of going in blind, no pun intended, Korn. Yeah, it just totally lived up. Like, I mean, they did the cover of Sabbath's Snowblind for Ozzy, which they had a recording of for the Osbourne soundtrack, and they hadn't played in a very long time, and that was sick. Obviously, you really couldn't argue with the set list. Every hit song it's also like my experience the first time seeing them is you almost kind of forget how many hits System of a Down had. Like, I feel like you could be a very casual fan who just listened to the radio and watched MTV a little bit back in the day, and you would still know like a lot of their set.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then so they definitely focused on Toxicity, which I think is their best record, probably the least controversial take in the world, which is great, to hear a lot of that. Yeah, they were incredible. They filled the stadium, no problem. Like, I mean, sonically, like they don't do any crazy like stadium style props or anything. It's just 4 people playing rock music. Incredible. And I had never seen Korn before. I was very excited. This was finally my chance to see them. I almost went. I think they did a co-headlining tour with Evanescence, I want to say, and I think they played Jones Beach. And I was gonna go, and then last minute didn't. But I mean, like, I feel like this kind of came up when we were talking like the new Deftones record. But like, I did not grow up a nu metal person. If anything, I grew up more of a nu metal hater. And I think over time, seeing that nu metal has become influential on a lot of music that comes out more recently that I do like. And also like I question, like, I think when I was young, there was this prevailing thought of like nu metal is bad. And so I was just like, okay, whatever people say, I was like more of just like, I trust that. And then I feel like I get a little older and I question, wait, why does everyone hate this thing? Is it really bad? Like, let me dive in. So I was a gradual. System of a Down I always loved. I also think you could easily argue they're not even really nu metal. I think same with Deftones. But Korn are like the inventors of nu metal. I mean, like, whether they like the term or not, they pioneered the sound that I think any average person would associate with nu metal. All dates back to Korn pretty much. Although Korn, of course, sorry, it's such a tangent, but Korn, I think, saw themselves as more coming from like the funk metal, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Faith No More world. And it is interesting to sort of position them that way in your head, at least I think. So like watching them, I'm like, wait, like if we just saw Korn as like of the sort of like Faith No More, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, like these kind of like weirdo alternative heavy bands of the 90s that were like the Lollapalooza world, I guess, and like less the sort of eventual Ozfest world. Like, it makes total sense. Korn absolutely Korn is those things. And it was really cool to kind of like just take a minute during the set and watch them and be like, why did everybody act like this was not that? Anyway.
Well, full circle, Korn played Lollapalooza like 2 weeks ago.
Right. Oh yeah. Right. As we talked, and I was thinking that too. I was like, like it's great that they just are fresh off headlining. Like it's like, especially like, we talked about that them being at the same fest as Olivia Rodrigo. We talk about Olivia's influence on sort of like 90s and 80s rock music making a comeback with Gen Z. And I'm like, Korn is a perfect band for a festival like that. System of a Down would be too, but like, and have been.
Did you catch Wisp or Polyphia?
Yeah, no, I could not get to New Jersey by 5:30. I really wanted to see Wisp though.
Understandable. It was a weekday too, right?
It was a Thursday. Yeah, I mean, I had work. We were recording podcasts, like.
So just days later, at this very same stadium, also for 2 nights, another band who was on the radio a lot in the 90s, Oasis, headlined 2 nights, and neither of us were there, but Bill Pearis, who was a special guest on this show last week, was there. And so we have invited him back to talk about Oasis.
Hey guys, glad to be back on the pod.
Hey Bill, welcome back. It was fun talking to you last week.
Thanks.
Hey Bill.
Hi
Welcome.
Dave.
It was fun not talking to either of you last week.
Wow, what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Sorry. Next week, I promise I will talk to you and it'll be fun.
Okay.
I'm jealous of you because if I had it in me to go to MetLife twice in 4 days, I would have gone to Oasis, but I didn't. So how was the show?
It was great. And I do not blame you one bit for not wanting to go to MetLife twice. I kind of didn't want to go the first time just for the location, not for the band, but it felt like too special to not go to. Oasis was great. It was a sea of bucket hats and official Adidas and Paul Smith collab merch. and just classic Britpop songs of the era. They played pretty much everything you'd want to hear and almost nothing that you didn't want to hear, though I could have done without any of the songs from after What's the Story, Morning Glory. But it was the first of 2 sold-out shows at MetLife. If you've seen any of the video footage from their UK Ireland tour, it was always 70,000 fans jumping up and down and singing along to every single song. But MetLife was not quite as crazy, enthusiastic, or inebriated as those UK shows. And I say inebriated, I feel like that's not a slur or anything on people across the pond. A few of those shows broke records for most beer sold at a show like ever in UK history.
Wow.
Yeah. I got to see Oasis a couple times back in the 90s on the first Definitely Maybe tour. And then when I moved to New York, they played Roseland for What's the Story, Morning Glory. Those shows were fine, I thought. But seeing them in a massive venue like MetLife, where everyone is singing along, and they had a much bigger version of the band too. There's 3 guitarists this time and a horn section and a keyboard player. It just made so much more sense. And I thought it was fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like they don't always have a reputation as the most exciting live band.
They are definitely not if you are like watching them close.
Right. But I feel like, I mean, just from watching videos of the UK shows, I was kind of like, whoa, they're like, it was more rowdy and energetic than I expected.
Yeah, the general admission field for all the big songs, people were just going crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you could feel the excitement on social media. It just, at least from my feed, it has felt like not only was I the only person who didn't attend either one of the New Jersey shows, and every single one of those people super excited. It almost felt like I was the only one who didn't attend also the UK shows. And it's like so many people have been traveling overseas. People have been went both nights at MetLife. We know somebody who rented a party bus. It's been wild.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends who went to Wembley, and I had a couple of friends that went to Cardiff. And I definitely had some FOMO of that, just seeing the mass sing-alongs and stuff. But MetLife was pretty close, and I was very glad I went. And if you have a chance to go see them in LA, which they're playing this weekend, I would say go, and I wouldn't be surprised if they come back next year.
Yeah, where do they go from here?
From here, they're in LA.
I mean, you've already done 2 nights at MetLife Stadium. Is it just MetLife Stadium again next time? If they come back to the New York area, at least?
I don't know where bigger they would go, but maybe they go to, somewhere in New York or something,
Do they have like a no festivals rule, or could they headline Gov Ball or something?
I don't think they have a no festivals rule, but I think they know that they are big enough that they don't need to play festivals. I don't know.
Right. You could almost say that about any MetLife band.
I mean, I feel like there was so much talk of like, would Coachella get them? So I feel like they obviously weren't back yet for that, but I feel like if Coachella could get them, that would make a lot of sense. And it would be objectively the biggest crowd they could probably play to. I think that's like probably the largest grounds available. Right.
In the US. I mean, yeah. Glastonbury would be the biggest
in the US, yeah.
In the world, probably. Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if they played Glastonbury, but I wouldn't imagine they would play like a whole summer worth of festivals. I also think that they wanted to play their first shows in England and just have it be them and not be part of something else, and to prove that they could sell out all these shows, which they did. Like MetLife was sold out, Chicago was sold out, Toronto was sold out, LA is sold out.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I do get that seemed like, I think I heard talk of that this first run would be no festivals, but I don't, because I think, they wanted to prove they could do it, and obviously they can do it.
Coachella 2026 seems totally possible.
Definitely. I was going to say festivals makes a lot of sense.
If they do headline Coachella and it goes over well, then they officially have beat Blur.
Well, they're just such a more universal band than Blur. I would say Blur wins the award for like most albums you would want to listen to now, but maybe band that you want to go see live anywhere in the world, Oasis wins.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a little bit of a Be Here Now defender. I know that you made that comment, but I think it's too long. But like,
Every
has some
song
moments.
is too long. Like they played "Do You Know What I Mean," which was the only well, they played two songs of "Be Here Now," but they played "Do You Know What I Mean," which is fun for like 1 minute, but the whole song is just all my people right here, right now. Do you know what I mean? It just goes on, and I'm like, yes, we know what you mean. Next song, please.
Side note, I noticed Gorillas are in Fortnite right now. Both of you are like, what does that mean? But yeah, I don't even know what it fully means. But there's something Gorillas going on in Fortnite for our video game players.
Gorillaz might beat Oasis. Like if Damon Albarn couldn't do it with Blur, in the US, he might have done it with Gorillaz.
Maybe.
To your point, I don't think Blur would ever be in Fortnite. So there you go. Like
No,
Metallica's in Fortnite. Sabrina Carpenter's in Fortnite.
Right.
So Gorillaz, Eminem is in Fortnite. Gorillaz in Fortnite feels big.
I mean, you know, I feel like Wonderwall is like kind of a meme, but Feel Good Inc. is a universal banger.
I don't know. Wonderwall is a huge song. So is Champagne Supernova, which was never even officially a single. And Don't Look Back in Anger. But all three of those ended the show, and everybody was singing along. There were times where it looked like the upper decks, people were asleep up there, but by the end, it was a total sing along. And Champagne Supernova ends with fireworks is a really like special moment.
Awesome.
It's amazing and a good time to talk more Britpop. You actually went to a show last night that was related as well, Bill.
Yeah, in the UK, the openers for the Oasis tour has been Richard Ashcroft from The Verve, and then opening is this band Cast, who are led by John Power, who used to be the bassist in The Laws, and their debut album All Change is 30 years old this year, and they came over just to play the New York and LA shows, but last night they played Manhattan's Sony Hall, which was their first U.S. headline show in 29 or 30 years. And whereas at MetLife, they played maybe 6 songs, this was an hour and a half set. And I got to tell you, John Power just has like all the energy he ever seemed to have before. It was a really fantastic show, really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And for Britpop fans and Creation Records fans, that was Oasis's label. Alan McGee, who started Creation Records, is Cast's manager and was at the show last night. So that was kind of exciting to see the guy who signed Oasis and many other bands, My Bloody Valentine and Ride, and I'm forgetting somebody, I'm sure, Super Furry Animals. Anyway, he was there. So that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And also in Britpop news, you recently talked to Suede for an upcoming episode of our other Brooklyn Vegan podcast, and presumably about their new album, which is also out today.
Yeah, it's a good week for Britpop. Is that, sorry, we're just gonna,
Yeah, who's got those alarms going off?
Oh, that was that. I wondered if you heard that. So you finally heard something out my window. All right, yeah, that was me. Hopefully it's done.
Okay.
Should we rewind?
No, it's all part of recording in New York City.
I'll just say it's a big week for Britpop. So out today are 2 albums from contemporaries of Oasis. First, we'll talk about Suede. Their album's called Antidepressants, and it's their 10th album, and it's their 5th since reforming a little more than a decade ago. So they've made as many albums since they've been back as they made in their original run. Frontman Brett Anderson said if 2022's Autofiction was their punk album, then this one is their post-punk album. But to my ears, they both kind of sound like 80s goth music, which works perfectly with Suede's signature, like beautiful trash, glammy sound. They've had one of the best second acts I can remember, and this record is like really fantastic. So many like great songs. They have aged elegantly. It's really good. And yes, as you alluded, I talked to bassist Matt Osman, who is the only other original member of the band that's been in the whole time. There's a lot of people who have been in it since the late 90s, but he was an original member. And that should go up next week, as should our interview with Saint Etienne. I'll say their new album is called International. It's their 13th album, and it's their final album. They're still friends. They're not, it's not musical difference or anything. They've just decided that after 35 years, they're going to hang it up, and they're going out with a bang. The album has lots of collaborators: the Chemical Brothers, Doves, Orbital, Confidence Man, Vince Clarke of Erasure, these 2000s era pop producers, Xenomania, and more. And everybody understood the assignment. And this is the most classic Saint Etienne sounding album since 2012's Words and Music. There are so many like awesome classic Saint Etienne songs on here. It's a little bit of everything they've done from over the years, but yet it sounds modern, and it's a real fitting farewell, including a song that's about the band's history. It's really lovely. And even though this is the last album, they said they're going to tour next year, including North America. So stay tuned for that. And I talked to Sarah Cracknell and Pete Wiggs from the band, and that will be up soon also on the other Brooklyn Vegan podcast.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear that. And speaking of dancey stuff, so Andrew was the only one of us at System of a Down. Bill, you were the only one of us at Oasis, but all three of us just, 2 nights ago, attended Nine Inch Nails together, a very dancey version of Nine Inch Nails at Barclays Center. Like the other bands mentioned, it was also one of a 2-night run. Although for much like we were saying earlier, MetLife Stadium is much bigger than any arena. So not as big. And we all love the show.
I thought it was the best show I've seen this year.
Yeah, and you could read more about that in Bill's full review, by the way, which is up on Brooklyn Vegan now. And but yeah, why did you think it was such a great show?
It was just so perfectly a merger of the music and the visuals. The stage production for the show was fantastic. There were 2 stages. The main stage was where most of the rock stuff happened, and then there was like a B stage where they did this in the middle of the show, this collaborative like remix set with Boys Noise, including a version of Closer, which might outdo the original version of the song. I just really thought it was fantastic. And the lighting design was next level. The main stage had these like translucent curtains that were projected upon that went back layers through the stage, and they did really amazing effects. And it kind of reminded me of like Massive Attack level of just every single detail was considered, and like so many great songs, and they were just in fantastic form. And as Andrew said, even though, I mean, they've got the Tron album coming out later this year, and they played one song off of that. With all the other stuff, it didn't feel like nostalgia or old. It's like they reinvented themselves for this, and it was fresh and new and very cool.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like most of the set was Downward Spiral. Like they had like I think 7 Downward Spiral songs, and then kind of cherry picked from other areas. But yeah, it's like even the songs that are from the 90s or the late 80s, they just sound kind of like really, really fresh, and just as fresh as the few newer like kind of highlights. Like, I mean, I personally love the song Less Than from their 2017 EP Ed Violence, and I love that that's become a setlist staple for them. But it's like that song is from, I don't want to mess my math up here, 2017 minus 1994. That's 23 years later, right? 23 years apart, and it when they play them now, like you wouldn't guess it. It all just sounds of one thing and very, very fresh.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. I've seen Nine Inch Nails many times, and I don't know. I guess I kind of forgot how good they were to counter something Andrew said, which was, he told me they were exactly as good as I thought they would be based on past shows. But yeah, they blew me away. Like I wasn't going into expecting it to be one of my favorite shows of the year, and then I don't know. I need to look back, but I'm with Bill where I'm like, was that my favorite show of the year? So good.
Yeah, I need to go back through my Instagram or my Brooklyn Vegan to discover or remember exactly what all I saw. But there's nothing that comes offhand that tops it.
If we're talking about it, I kind of want to say my show of the year was the Deftones show back in April. But yeah, I mean, to add a little negativity to this, like, as you kind of hinted at, Dave, my only complaint is having seen Nine Inch Nails a few times in recent years. I do think they could change the set list up a little more. I was really cool that they did open with that like somber portion, because usually they like open with Wish or something like it and play it second or something. And it was like they kind of had this like, it was like, the Boys Noise opened, kind of brought his last song up to like what would be a bass drop, and then cut it, and then the curtain falls and there's Trent alone. He does a piano ballad, and then Boys Noise came back on, as you mentioned earlier, Bill, for the dancey portion of Nine Inch Nails set. So that was like, okay, this is different. And then they transferred to the main stage, and then they kind of opened the way they usually open their shows, and it felt like the suspense was built for that a bit more, and that was very cool. So I thought it was an incredible show and a fire set list. I feel weird complaining because I'm a little bit like, you guys could change it up, but I'm also like, it's a great set list. I get why you kind of generally stick to it. I mean, it has its changes, but there's sort of a certain vibe and certain selection of songs and placement of those songs that tend to be similar. So it'd be interesting to see like a completely different Nine Inch Nails show, maybe one that like has a lot from the Fragile and less from the Downward Spiral, or I don't know, whatever else. They have a lot more songs than their recent set lists kind of pull from. But again, you can't complain. Amazing show, amazing selection of songs. I feel like when they do the rock stuff and that rave portion, they generally tend to stick to like rippers and bangers. And obviously Nine Inch Nails have a lot of songs that aren't that. So I think it's smart for like sometimes Nine Inch Nails is a band you more vibe out to, and when you go see them live, it's just like ripper, ripper, banger, ripper, and that's like, you can't complain. So
One other thing that made this feel fresh and new, and I think we can all agree on that, is having Josh Freese back on the drum kit.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was so noticeable too. Like, it's like I feel like if you follow music journalism at all, including this podcast, the great drummer switch up or drummer departures of the year is like this funny trend. But like, yeah, I mean, I like Alon Rubin as a drummer. He's super good. Zero disrespect, man. Josh Freese came back with a bang. Like, they introduced him with a drum solo. They zoomed in on him during like some pretty, like, I think you said, Bill, like he could drum for Goldie or something. Like,
He was definitely doing like drum and bass jungle, like breakbeat stuff, which is almost impossible to do live. There's very few people that can do that.
Yeah, and then also you can still see like his punk roots come through. Like
he's a beast.
Yeah, like he made, I think on some of the louder rock songs, he made them sound a little bit more like a punk band than they sounded with Alon Rubin, and that makes sense being Josh Freese. But yeah, I've seen Josh Freese drum for, I believe, The Replacements and Devo and maybe some other band, but this was the most that a band like put him in the spotlight, and he got extra loud cheers during band introductions. It definitely felt like everybody was like, "Hey, Josh, we're so happy you're here. Welcome back." It felt like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the love of watching him drum live felt universal, and that you don't need to be like a drummer guy to have appreciated those drums.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, I mean, I think, he's going to go down as like a Travis Barker, Neil Peart, kind of like even non-drummer nerds can name drop them in a top drummers conversation kind of thing.
Definitely. And so I feel like there's just one big question left when you're talking about System of a Down and Korn, Oasis, and Nine Inch Nails, which is which show had the most baggy pants?
I know which show had the most bucket hats.
Yeah.
Right. But I was thinking how each of these bands have now lived through baggy pants coming back. Here they are. It's like not
True.
even this. I don't know if you'd even call it nostalgia to wear baggy pants to any of these shows in 2025.
No, it's the opposite. Have you seen the new Old Navy commercials? They're advertising straight leg pants as vintage slim. What I noticed fashion wise is that System of a Down and Korn, like a lot of arena and stadium shows, the crowd was primarily people wearing System of a Down and or Korn shirts. And I say and or because they were also selling a System of a Down Korn MetLife combo shirt that you saw a lot. And I saw two people at Nine Inch Nails wearing. But at Nine Inch Nails, I was impressed at how many band shirts I saw that weren't Nine Inch Nails. I think for an arena show, that had to be the most amount of the highest amount of band shirt variety that I've seen at an arena show in a while, because these arena shows always seem to bring out the I'm supposed to wear the shirt of the band I'm seeing crowd, which you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. It's not what you're supposed to do. And I was impressed. Nine Inch Nails, I saw like Poison Rune, Ministry, like, I mean, it was all like lots of classic goth and industrial, lots of metal, like, I don't know. It was a good mix, and I was impressed with the Nine Inch Nails crowd for keeping it real.
Agreed. Cannot say the same about Oasis.
Not surprised.
Well, Bill, thank you. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon. And everybody, go check out the other Brooklyn Vegan podcast, where you can hear much more of Bill, including a new episode interview with Hot Chip.
That's right.
All right. Well, moving on from show reviews of classic rock bands to upcoming new albums, we just put up a list on Brooklyn Vegan earlier this week of 72 albums we're anticipating to hear this fall, aka by the end of 2025, pretty much. And we're going to talk about some of them now. So again, there's 72 albums on the list. Super hard to think of what to talk about. So Dave and I have kind of picked some personal favorites that lean a little bit on the less obvious side. So Dave, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, and you could read the full list. We'll put the link in the show notes. The first pick was easy for me. I mentioned it on the podcast before. Amanda Shire's new album is coming out later this month called Nobody's Girl. Amanda's an amazing singer-songwriter who does everything from country to folk to rock and beyond. And this is her divorce album, which, you know, I'd much rather there was not a divorce album, but I am looking forward to hearing it. Anyway, it's shaping up to be a heartbreaking one from the singles. It's her first solo album of original material since 2022's Take It Like a Man, where she was already hinting at the trouble in her marriage to Jason Isbell. And that was also an album I was very into that year. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing this one.
Yeah, and I mean, Jason also released his divorce album this year. So it's like we're getting both sides of the story with, you know, via song. And his album definitely had some heart-wrenching moments. But just going by the two singles on hers, I think hers is going to be the more heart-wrenching of the two. So I'm bracing myself.
What do you got?
My first pick is Agriculture's upcoming sophomore album, The Spiritual Sound. Agriculture are an ecstatic black metal band, which is a subgenre that was pretty much first used to describe liturgy. Liturgy might have even coined that phrase, but don't quote me on that. But I think if you're unfamiliar with them and you're not really a metal person, but you do like Death Heaven or liturgy, or, I mean, we just recently talked about that Black Braid album on the show. I gave that a lot of time too. So like, I think if black metal is something you're kind of interested in, I think Agriculture is a really good band for people like that, but also for real metalheads. But this album, I haven't heard the whole thing yet. But both singles I've heard have been insanely good. It's just, they are so sort of just genre defying. Like, there's like black metal, but also slowcore and noise and sludge and post rock and just like all these kind of things in there, shoegaze, and clean vocals and screaming. And they have two vocalists, and one of them on this album is like primarily singing about Zen Buddhism, and the other one is primarily singing about like trans rights and sort of trans struggles. And it's just like, it's a lot, very maximal. And that's just going by 2 songs and what I've read so far about it. So I needless to say, at this point, I can't wait to hear the entire thing.
Yeah, I want to hear that as well. And my next pick is Anna von Hauswolf, which easily could be a label mate. I feel like she would fit right in on the Flenser, which is agriculture's label. Also genre defying, but most of those genres you might describe her as are very dark, like agriculture. And, her 2018 album, Dead Magic, made our year-end list that year. Is haunting, dark, doomy, droney, folky, hard to describe. At times reminds me of Dead Can Dance, and definitely gets classified in like that same kind of ethereal wave, dark wave category. This somewhat surprising, this new album, which by the way is called Iconoclasts, features guest spots by Ethel Cain. I guess Ethel Cain less surprising, but Iggy Pop is also on this album. So that should be interesting. It also tells us that this is very much, again, going to be a vocal album, unlike her last album, which came after Dead Magic. And also appearing on this album is her sister, Maria. And Anna comes from a very musical family because Maria and Anna also the daughters of experimental musician CM von Hauswolf. So very cool, amazing family of experimental musicians. And I mean, give Anna some credit. I know more. I pretty much heard of CM because of Anna, although CM has many notable collaborations and is notable in his own right as well. So very cool. What do you got next?
Yeah, he did that not long ago. He did that collaboration with Yonzi from Sigur Rós.
Yeah.
And when I was like, oh, this is Anna's father, like that was kind of like, I came at it from that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for that too. I really like Dead Magic as well. And another album that I'm really looking forward to is Prune, Prewn, not Prune. Their sophomore record, System. It follows their 2023 debut album, Through the Window, which I think is one of the most underrated indie rock albums in recent memory. I thought that should have been like huge, like breakthrough indie rock debut kind of thing. It wasn't really. It didn't catch on like that. The singer of Prune's voice is like unbelievable and doesn't sound like anyone else I've ever heard. And the 2 singles that are out from System are just as next level as the debut record was for me. So I don't know. Hopefully, second time's the charm, and this becomes the breakthrough that Prune deserves. But whether it does or doesn't, I hope that if you're listening to this podcast and you're into things like Hop Along and Neutral Milk Hotel and Mitski and like just these sort of like folky but a little weird and also like really kind of what's the word I'm looking for, like really ear-catching singers that have like these big, slightly odd but really good voices. I think that Prune should be in your record collection.
Okay. My next pick are 2 of the albums on the list, which go together well. And I think we did make this comparison at least one other time in the past. I'm talking about Drain's new album, Is Your Friend, and Biohazard's new album, Divided We Fall. Drain, obviously a much newer band. Both of these bands have in common that they are both hardcore and metal in various ways. I think, Biohazard, classic album, are on many people's top 5 hardcore albums of all time lists. And Drain's newer albums are on many people's best of the years in recent years. But both easily could call metal as well. Anyway, Biohazard, I don't want to say surprisingly as a diss, but as we've said before, the Biohazard singles have been great. And so really looking forward to that one. And Drain, just consistently one of the best new hardcore bands going right now. So really fun. And I guess plus with some clean vocals in there, as we talked about, couple weeks ago on the last single. So yeah.
I've been listening to that song more, and like I feel like we kind of positioned it. I want to correct us. I feel like we kind of positioned it a little bit as like within the hardcore adjacent thing, but upon listening more, one, I would say it actually reminds me a lot of Waves, so much so that I wonder if they are Waves fans. But also, I think this is classic Southern California skate punk. This is like, like Adolescence, NoFX. Like, I think that Drain that's what this song is. And when you think about it like that, who better than Drain to bring that back into 2025 hardcore culture? Like, probably no one else.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And that kind of vibe does seem to be going around in the hardcore, a bunch of the California hardcore bands right now. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a reclamation of Bad Religion as a hardcore band going on, which I'm happy to see. I mean, I feel like Bad Religion should be considered one of the best hardcore bands. Feels like for a while people were like, "Oh, that's pop punk." So
there you go.
speaking of pop punk, I'm gonna one up you with your 2 in a row. I'm gonna do 3 in a row. That all kind of work as one thing. So an album I am very, very excited for is the Starting Line's Eternal Youth. It's their first album in 18 years, and if you're surprised to hear that I'm excited or whatever excited for the Starting Line's new album, then I think you may have not enough context for why I think this band is so impressive and just like way bigger, way better than the kind of reputation that they maybe have. Their biggest song, like The Best of Me, is like pretty standard early 2000s pop punk, and it kind of overshadows how interesting their second and third records were and how much they kind of departed from being a typical pop punk band. And this band, I've just always felt for so long, I'm like, if they would just come back and do another record, it just felt like they ended things at a weird point where they could have done more. And I just felt like they've had another great record in them. And judging by the songs that are out so far, I very much feel like that's what they're doing. They're coming back to make the record that I always felt like they could make. So I have a personal attachment to the existence of this and how good I expect it to be. Speaking of comeback albums in the sort of emo world, but definitely less pop punk than Starting Line's first album, at least. 2 more that go very, very hand in hand is Algernon Cadwallader and Good Luck's both first albums in 14 years, both third albums. They have had like their trajectory is completely identical. They had debuts in 2008, sophomore albums 2011, kind of like sudden breakups, and now first album in 14 years, 2025. And Joe from Algernon produced the Good Luck record. The bands were peers back in the day. It's hard not to talk about them together. But Algernon need no introduction if you like emo revival. They are the OG emo revival band. They're probably the most important band of the entire movement. And Good Luck, I think, are almost as important, but probably less talked about. And I hope everybody who's excited for Algernon checks out Good Luck. The lead singles for both were actually the 1 and 2 songs in our recent Best Punk Songs of August list on BV. And I just think they go together so well. And Good Luck is also, though they are absolutely important to emo revival, I would not feel comfortable just calling them emo and walking away. Unlike Algernon, who very much sound like kind of Cap'n Jazzy, sort of Midwest Kinsella emo, Good Luck are equally like power pop, indie rock. They have roots in the folk punk scene. And honestly, it goes well with that Prune record. I also think like, I do consider Hop Along, who Joe from Algernon plays guitar in, to be a pretty good comparison for Good Luck. I think Hop Along fans should be Good Luck fans. Anything else, like early Waxahachie fans would probably be Good Luck fans if they aren't. So yeah, I don't know. I just think this band has like a lot there. Jeff Rosenstock wrote their bio and he praised the hell out of this new record. And one of their recent reunion shows was opening for him. I think that they have a lot of potential to be appreciated by people who, a lot of the music that's kind of been in the center of indie rock over the past 10, 15 years. I think a lot of it is similar to Good Luck, and that they they should get their flowers. And I'll wrap up on that note, that kind of indie rock. I don't want to give too much time to it because listeners of this podcast have heard me talk about it on multiple episodes. But really, the album I'm most anticipating this fall is Wednesday's new album. So, yeah, that's where I'll stop.
Yes, we all can't wait for Wednesday. And let's talk about albums that are out now. This week in notable releases, I'll just start this actually because this week, actually a day early. So today, the day we're recording, Thursday, a new EP by Georgia Mack came out of Camp Cope. Speaking of emo adjacent artists.
Yeah, Camp Cope fans would be Good Luck fans, I think.
There you go. So this new Georgia Mack EP does not exactly sound like Camp Cope, but it also, to me, it hits the sweet spot of Georgia Mack from Camp Cope more than kind of the more recent other Georgia Mack releases that have come out since Camp Cope broke up, or maybe there was just one. But they it's just 5 songs. But considering I have been fiending for new Camp Cope, this especially has been exciting, and I like it. It's not emo.
No, but I think it fits a little bit with the everybody who's going country trend.
I agree. Yeah. It's definitely more in that direction. And, Georgia, big line dancer now as well. So she
should come to Honky Tonkin' in Queens.
Oh, I mean, she should have. She's living on the West Coast. She's Australian, but living currently in LA. Where
there's a song about LA on the EP. I didn't realize she lived there. Now it makes sense.
Oh yeah, lives there and constantly line dancing there as well.
Oh, well, she's got to come to Honky Tonkin' in Queens. I got a DJ Moonshine, DJ Prison Rodeo. If you're listening, got to book Georgia Mack.
So what else is out this week?
Well, speaking of the country thing, you know what isn't country at all? The new Big Thief album. I think we've kind of wondered, or if we didn't do it out loud, I've done it in my head, about like, will Big Thief kind of latch on to the whole indie country boom thing that they absolutely helped kind of happen? People were talking about them as part of it, years ago, and now it's bigger than ever, and they're not doing that, which is fine. But just if you're wondering, they're not. The new album Double Infinity is like the least country Big Thief album of their past few recent Big Thief records. I think it leans much more into the art rock side they've had. I mean, they have always kind of gotten like some Radiohead comparisons, and this feels kind of like folky Radiohead. Actually, I think the best song on it features Laraji, the new age ambient legend, who you would definitely associate with sort of art rock stuff when he is at least in the rock realm. It's just such a standout. You just got to listen to it. But yeah, it's a great record. It's really, it's tight, 9 songs, really narrows the focus compared to their last album, which was like sort of a White Album style double album, just like throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks kind of record. It's also their first record since their bass player left. And, they've always been such a tight 4-piece unit, everybody bringing something essential to the band. So I guess you do have to wonder what a member change looks like, but this sounds like classic Big Thief. And they've got some cool guests on there. Hannah Francis, June McDoom, and Elena Spanger all do backup vocals. So yeah, it's cool stuff. Also, the David Byrne record, Who Is the Sky, is another big one this week. It's crazy to me, like how not only Talking Heads are forever relevant, and obviously we've talked about David Byrne coming on stage with Olivia Rodrigo, and doing like having Gen Z witness, or Gen Alpha maybe even, like witness like Burning Down the House being performed with their favorite pop star. And Paramore covered that song and made it kind of have a little bit of a comeback for that reason too. So you're kind of getting these new generations finding their ways into Talking Heads, as every generation has had. I mean, for me, I remember like every other band in the mid 2000s, every other indie band in the mid 2000s, like their record reviews were just people were name dropping David Byrne and David Bowie. And I'm sure you remember that moment. And David Byrne was at half those bands' shows. So he's just forever relevant, and he's still doing exactly what he was always doing. This is like the most classic David Byrne record that probably in a while, actually, but like it just sounds like the person who sang on, Speaking in Tongues and Remain in Light. Like Afro-Caribbean polyrhythms, orchestral strings, lots of like just sort of like the weird lyricism that only he would come up with. Hayley Williams from Paramore is on the record. Speaking of anticipated releases, she's also on Jay Som's upcoming album. St. Vincent sings on the album. Speaking of Radiohead again, there's 2 different drummers from 2 different Tom York bands are on the record. So it's a cool little crew. Kid Harpoon produced it, who like mainly is known for working with Harry Styles and Miley Cyrus. And that's kind of like the David Byrne of it all, right? It's like you have like these kind of alternative icon backup vocalists, this very mainstream pop producer, and then a chamber orchestra plays on the record, and David Byrne sings. And what's more David Byrne than that entire sentence?
Yeah.
All right, wrapping things up, 2 watery bands have releases out this week that are very good. Fleshwater, 2000, In Search of the Endless Sky, and Shallow Water, God's Gonna Give You $1 Million. Fleshwater is kind of the Deftonesy grunge shoegaze post-hardcore hybrid thing happening. They also just toured with Deftones, as we've talked about before. And yeah, this record's great. It's sounds like they're it's more arena ready than the last album. And since they're already playing arenas like on this recent Deftones tour, it's good timing. And meanwhile, Shallow Water is sort of like this slowcore, little bit country, little bit emo, a little bit post-rock, kind of just really, they definitely remind me of Sunny Day Real Estate, Slint, Songs Ohio. Also does kind of fit in with the whole MJ Lenderman Wednesday thing, and they actually share their producer with MJ Lenderman and Wednesday on this new record, so that's cool. And then La Dispute, one of the best post-hardcore bands to have ever done it, are back with their new album, No One Was Driving the Car, and in classic La Dispute fashion, it's a big, ambitious concept record, so lots there. And then in addition to the Saint Etienne and Suede records that Bill already talked about earlier, he reviews the new albums from Shame, Ivy, and Dancer over in Indie Basement. So that about does it for new albums this week.
What about songs?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is that Alabama Shakes put out their first new song in over 10 years, which is crazy, I think, because like Brittany Howard was really active solo, and it just doesn't, my brain hasn't wrapped its way around that Alabama Shakes were really gone for a long time, but they were. And this song is great. It's like kind of a psychedelic soul blues. Like it's definitely sounds like Alabama Shakes, and it's good stuff. Billy Bragg put out a protest song in support of those suffering in Gaza called 100-Year Hunger. More Britpop. Ash have a new song that features Blur's Graham Coxon. It's called Fun People. And I'll wrap up with 2 of this in the sort of punk world that are probably my personal favorite songs of the week, which is that Oklahoma City emo band Ben Quad released It's Just a Title from their upcoming sophomore album Wisher, which comes out in November on Pure Noise. They had recently done like a Screamo EP, and before that they had their first album was like much more like Midwest emo, and this one is sort of neither of those things. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's got some synths that reminded me a lot of Motion City Soundtrack. And so when I opened up the press release and saw that they cited Motion City Soundtrack as an influence, I was pleasantly not surprised. And Denver hardcore punk band Destiny Bond also announced their sophomore album. It's called The Love. It comes out in October on Convulse. And their new single, Peace As a Punchline, is really good. It kind of reminds me of Fucked Up, where it's like really, really anthemic, catchy hardcore, but not melodic hardcore, not hardcore adjacent, just hardcore. It just happens to be really anthemic. So yeah. What else happened this week, Dave?
Let's go back to Britpop for a second again, and we should have actually mentioned this earlier, but Pulp, who just started their North American tour last night in Atlanta, have just announced the 30th anniversary deluxe box set of their album Different Class, which topped our list of the greatest Britpop albums of 1995. Australian giants Tame Impala are back with 2 new singles and the announcement of their 5th album, Deadbeat. And if you want that album on cassette, act fast, because the Brooklyn Vegan shop is the only place you can get it. Head to shop.brooklynvegan.com to pick up the new Tame Impalas on cassette, limited numbered edition. Radiohead announced their first tour in 7 years with dates in Europe and the UK. Portishead, meanwhile, will reunite on video for a single song for Brian Eno's upcoming Together for Palestine show in London. Definitely exciting to know that Portishead will be in a room together recording a live song, not a new song, but playing a song. So yeah, it leaves me hopeful that maybe they'll get together more often. Morrissey is offering to sell the Smiths to any interested party or investor if anyone's interested. Sex Pistols' North and South American tour with Frank Carter on vocals was postponed due to Steve Jones breaking his wrist, which possibly happened at Burning Man due to Instagram evidence. Yo La Tengo have announced their annual Hanukkah run happening at Bowery Ballroom from December 14th to 21st. And My Chemical Romance have been covering Smashing Pumpkins' Bullet with Butterfly Wings regularly on their long Live the Black Parade tour. And for the Chicago show on Friday night, they actually brought out Billy Corgan to join them on it. Love my sons, Corgan posted on social media afterwards. Andrew, why don't you actually take us out with this week in pop punk setlist?
Yeah, very important updates from the world of pop punk setlist tracking. So Blink-182 began their Missionary Impossible tour with the first performances of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, Deep Cuts, Online Songs, and Roller Coaster in 24 years, and the first time playing their cover of Descendants' Hope in 22 years, and a few other surprises. They broke out Josie for the first time in a while, and I've been looking at their set list every day since, and they keep playing those songs. So if you're wondering if should I go to this tour, I went to the last one. I mean, I would like to hear those songs played live, and I love their cover of Descendants' Hope. So I am all of a sudden more. I'm hopefully seeing them at some point on this tour. It doesn't come to New York, but it does come to See Here Now in New Jersey, and I'm hoping that we get those songs on the set list.
Hoping,
yeah. Good point. Not to be outdone though. Green Day broke out Hashinka for the first time since 1997 at their show in Chile. And that was a really exciting one because I feel like, Green Day have so many great deep cuts from their early years that just don't get played live. And watching the video that they posted about it sounds amazing. Good reason to go see both of those bands headline Riot Fest this year.
See you next week. Maybe at Riot Fest too.
Thanks for tuning in. Dave and I will be back every Friday morning with new episodes of BV Weekly. And in between the episodes, you can always get much more from us at BrooklynVegan.com, on all of our social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can pick up records from us at shop.brooklynvegan.com. And if you like what you hear, tell your friends about us, subscribe to the show, give us a good rating. All that little stuff goes a really long way. It really helps us a lot, and we really appreciate it. Thanks so much to Joe D'Agostino from Cymbal Z Guitars and Empty Country for the great theme song. Our mix engineer, Nick Gray. Thank you again, and see you next time.